Hey there, it's Derek here from Pacific Coast Auto in Japan. We're looking here at a 2002 Honda Civic Type R. This one is the Euro Type R with the K20 200 horsepower 2-liter engine. This particular model has 85,000 kilometers on it. It was bought from auction here in Japan for export over to kind of my area of Canada, which is kind of fun to see. This is going to be a super rare car in Canada because it was never available there. Has a handful of crazy Mugen parts. And take a look at this. Honda of the UK. It says right on the VIN plate. Okay, so we'll take a look at the condition of the car. We'll compare it to the auction inspection sheet. And then we're going to ship it over to Canada, to BC. I'm going to give it a little rev so that you can hear. And turn the engine off for the rest of the review of it. Okay, so the K20, very, very famous engine from Honda. Everybody knows it, everyone loves it. It's kind of known as the 4-cylinder LS because it's used in swaps for so many different kit cars or just regular engine swaps. Puts out up to 220 horsepower depending on the version of it. And then of course there's the K24 that is also very popular, but fantastic engine. It's not going to win you drag races unless you put a turbo on it, then it will. But generally speaking, 200 horsepower in a car that's maybe a little bit above 1,000 kilograms. We'll get Max to fill in what the actual weight of this is. Gives you a really fun to drive little car. And then this engine is just so nice. It gives you a decent amount of power at low RPMs and mid RPMs. But once you get over to the B-Tech section of the engine, it feels great. Now it only revs up to 7,600 RPM. It's not like a over 8,000 RPM screamer. I'll just check what the red line is here. Okay, red line's over 8,000, but its max torque comes at 7,400 RPM, and it feels like it can take an extra 1,000 RPM, and just the feeling of a high revving engine is like nothing else. You just don't get this with modern turbo engines. And there's going to be a time when all the K20 cars are sold. Just like we had with the B16 and the B18s, it's not so easy to get those famous engines, excellent engines anymore. K20 is the one to get right now. Now this particular model comes with the front and rear strut tower bar by Cusco. Other than that, there's nothing really to talk about inside the engine room. The strut tower brace will give it a little bit better handling. And I guess if there is one complaint about this car that a lot of people seem to talk about on the internet is that this one, quote unquote, was downgraded to a McPherson strut front end instead of double wishbones. I don't know what it has in the rear, but I think it's a multi-link, which gives you a little bit more understeer. That said, I wouldn't worry about it too much. There are a ton of great McPherson strut front-wheel drive cars. It's just a shame that Honda had to go away from the double wishbone, which was kind of their thing for such a long time. It is cheaper to manufacture. I think this is a twist beam rear suspension as well. Let me just double check that. No, independent suspension in the rear. So that is a little bit of an upgrade over our very cool Lupo GTI race car that we have, which you'll be seeing sometime on the channel. Sometime. Okay, so I'm going to close off the engine room here. I will say that the oil and the coolant were both very cool and very great. Cool was the weird word to say there. They are in proper condition by the looks of it. Close the hood. Okay, and these EP3 generation of the Civic Type R are fairly rare here in Japan. You can still find them at auctions. They're just not the most popular car at auction anymore. Not a ton of them were sold here in Japan to begin with. Here's the auction inspection sheet, so let's go ahead and go over this. It's 2002 Civic Type R. This is an auction grade 4 with an interior C, which seems about right. Maybe interior C is a little bit harsh. The overall condition is quite good. This is a condition that I myself would like to have. It's 84,972 kilometers. Has an in-dashboard 6-speed manual transmission, which is kind of weird. Yeah. You guys can write in the comments what that makes you think about when you see it. Make sure to make me laugh about that. Original weight. Sales points are purchased from user or like a trade-in car. Original HID headlights, owner's manual, and warranty papers. Comes with Mugen suspension, Mugen exhaust, and Mugen wheels. What a nice little package here. Everyone in Canada who has any Honda wants a handful of Mugen parts. And this one already has some parts that you couldn't get outside of Japan on a car you can never get in Canada. That's a huge win for this one. And I will show you a little bit about the wheels because they are fantastic. The exhaust, I think it sounds good, but I'd want to hear it at around 8,000 RPM to really make my decision whether that's the best exhaust, but it probably is one of the best. Mugen's not going to mess around with making an exhaust that doesn't sound awesome. The report here, interior wear, cigarette burn, and dirty. Let's have an extra look for the cigarette burn. Now, it has been smoked in. I mentioned in the other video that comes as a companion with this that there is no smell of cigarettes inside, so it maybe wasn't the previous owner. Typical cigarette burns are in this area here, which this one doesn't have any. On the seat, which I did find this. Let's see if you can see that. A little bit hard with the light that we have right now. That's not a cigarette burn. And these are the stock red seats, a little bit of wear right there. And then if it's not there, which it isn't, then usually around the console, but the shifter is up here instead of on the console. There it is. I found you. You're in the floor mat. Now, floor mats can be bought and put into the car if you want. Used ones are usually available depending on the car. I'm not sure how available they are for this car. Or you can get custom ones. There's a company in Japan called Karo, and they make custom floor mats for literally everything. Okay. So steering wheel wear and peeling, it's actually really not that bad at all. Underside painted and has surface rust. Again, good looking underside on this. I really wouldn't worry about it. This is going to a little bit north of BC, where winters can be pretty hectic, and so cars there tend to rust pretty crazily. This will be nothing compared to even a 5-year-old car in Canada. Okay, alloy wheels scratch, very scratches and dents. The body here has a number of A1 and U1s, but there's really not much that stands out. A1 is very minor, U1 likewise is also very minor. So I didn't write anything in yellow highlighter there like I usually do. Okay, so let's take you for a tour around it, and then I'll point out some defects, and then we'll go into the interior. I will say that the styling on this has really grown on me. I'm not, and I hate to say this because it breaks my heart, I'm not a huge fan of any of the Honda Civics since they've been turbocharged. I don't know what it is, they just don't do it for me. And part of the character of a Honda Civic, and part of the reason why I love these cars so much, is that high revving, naturally aspirated engine, fantastic twitchy handling. Twitchy is not the right word. Quick handling, and usually fairly understated styling. I find these new ones to be a little bit too styled. The engines are good engines, don't get me wrong, but they don't scream Honda Civic Type R in the same way that the B16 engine does, the B18 engine, or these K20 engines, or whatever the NSX Type R got. J30 and J32? I don't know. Okay, so the body on this is full stock. Suspension's a little bit lower and will be adjustable with that Mugen suspension, which is going to be a fairly high-end brand. I don't know what like shock company that Mugen uses. Usually, you know, it'll be Bilstein or it'll be Tokiko or something, some sort of a brand. Other than what's for some reason I can't explain this. Like it's not actually going to be Mugen that manufactures them. They'll buy the shock and then they'll buy the spring and then they'll just put their branding on it. Same thing as the wheels here. Mugen doesn't make these wheels, Raze does. So they're kind of like a TE37. They're a little bit lighter, I think. You can get two of them. This one's called the MF10 because it's a 10-spoke, and then there's an MF8. And the only reason I know that is because the person who's buying this car through us, not the actual end owner, but the person who's buying this car from us, bought a DC2 from us and got us to put some MF8 wheels on it. And this was like 9 years ago or something, or 8 years ago, I'm not sure. And that's where I learned about these wheels. Since then, been a huge fan of them. They perfectly fit a 90s car. I don't think they work on my cities, which I have two of them now, and one of them is a race car, and it has TE37s on it. Sorry, a little bit of a brag there. I just love cities and I love Hondas. So anyway, tires here are from 2023, which is good, probably around 80 or 90% tread. They have a couple of scrapes, minor ones, one here and one on the other side that is roughly the same size right here. Tires are a cheaper brand, Minerva, but a sports tire, even with a cheaper brand, can tend to be pretty good. I think the hardest tires that cheap companies make good sports and summer tires. They don't make very good all season or high performance summer tires. If you compare this to a Z3 by Dunlop or a Michelin Pilot Sport tire, the difference is definitely noticeable. But for the price that you pay, if you're just going to do autocross, they can give you good, fairly good results. Type R badge on the caliper there, or embossing. Okay, and tire size is a 205, which I think is the right amount of tire for this. Let's look at defects. We have so the front bumper has been repainted and has been painted after some damage. So this area here actually has a little bit of wrinkling underneath the paint finish. It's not always apparent, depends on the light, I guess, and there is a little bit of a chip here with a small painted over crack that you can see. Okay, headlights are just slightly clouded. Not too bad, a little bit of fade in the grille, and we have a couple of rock chips here. Okay, got another rock chip down here. Okay, kind of like a aggressive-ish fitment, considering it's a 90s fitment. Come down here, your side panels are all looking really good. I'm not going to focus on them for this video because another video comes with the set that focuses on side panels, but everything's looking great on this side here. Even the sticker doesn't have a little bit of dirt working its way underneath the edges. Nice and fantastic. The bottom of the door here has a little scratch. I didn't notice this on the side panel check video, so it's not in there because this side of the car was really bright at that moment. That's why it's good for us to go over it twice. Love the shape of the rear wing. It's not too aggressive, but I like how it flips up at the end. It's actually going to be a functional shape for the shape of the car because I pretend to be an aerodynamicist in my videos. Exhaust, I like it. It says Mugen on the side, on this side over here. It has a little loop thing. Can you see? Up here. The pipe loops around to the front of it. And I think that's how you get a better sound. Fujitsu also does that with their DC2 exhaust. A little bit of marks there on the back bumper. You get a little Euro badge, or like a UK badge next to the Civic, because it is the Euro Civic Type R. You get a little bit of a scrape there. And there are a couple of dents in this area that might be a little bit hard to see when the sun is shining like that. And also a little area of touch-up paint. Okay, window sills are peeling on both sides. I'll show you this one, and then scooch over to the other side. Here. Okay, and I don't think that we have a rear sway bar. I mean, we do have a rear sway bar, but like not an upgraded one. Upgraded rear sway bar will do wonders on a McPherson strut front-wheel drive car for handling. But it'll also make the rear really skittish in the rain if you don't know how to drive. So do take care. Don't have to pop that. Okay, so interior. Love the black and red motif. Looks fantastic and sporty. Like I said, no bad smells for the interior. Seats. They're doing the Civic Type R thing of putting in the red Recaro seats. These ones are different, obviously, from the DC2 or the the EK9. They still say Recaro here, just not as apparent. No white lettering. And they're a little bit less bolstered, which is kind of a good thing because those earlier ones would tend to sag pretty badly. Okay, to get into the rear, it's easy. You just pull this up. And your setback for the seat is done on a spinner. Here you can see it. These spinners are fantastic because you can, instead of clicking, click, 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 you have infinitely adjustable, so you can adjust it perfectly for how you like, without having to be maybe too far back on one click and not far back enough on another click. Pull this up, pull the seat forward, and then back seats are black. I think that it's very cool that you have a different seat color, blacks and reds. And I don't know about this generation, but I know some of the earlier Civic Type Rs, you could get black seats in the front, both at Civic and Integra. Like black and black, or you can do black and red. And I guess the red seats are more iconic, so that's what most people would want. Steering wheel's from Momo, and then that's an authentic one. And it's, I think, a 33 if I were just to guess. White face gauges are good. Honda, you forgot to put the tachometer in the middle. Tisk tisk. Type R floor mats in pretty good shape. Your heel pad isn't worn out, so not too much heel and toe action going on. Okay, you get a serial number right here on your Civic Type R badge. Can you see that? Okay, there's a hands-free wire thing that's just kind of floating here. Okay, a little bit of wear on here. A little bit of wear on here. Missing one of these things right there. Aftermarket Navi unit. Aftermarket tweeters on this one. Headliner. You probably can't see it so well in the videos, but it's a little bit dirty. Needs to be washed. And it also has a texture that it has been washed before. Okay, let's head into the trunk. Interior, great visibility, lots of space. For me, as someone who usually has all seats in the full back position, this one is not in the full back, and so a bigger dude can definitely sit there. Oh, and I gotta say about the shifter, as awkward as it looks, the idea was to have the shifter closer to the steering wheel, so your reaction time for shifting or your reaction time to get your hand back on the steering wheel is going to be decreased theoretically, and less of a reach, so it's going to be easier to accurately grab the shifter while you're doing your crazy steering. I'm pretty sure that that's effective. Still think it looks kind of weird, but you know, if it's your car, you'll get used to it. You'll get used to people going, yo, your shifter looks a little bit suspect there. Yeah. Okay, so trunk. This person fit a strut tower brace in here, as you can see, and as a result, the plastic trim piece has been removed, and now you don't have it, so it's a little bit, it's not secret. Okay, decent amount of space. It's a small car, you can't get a ton more space than this. And then, up here, I don't know this car well enough to know if this is an issue, but it has some rust in and around these hinges. Okay, underneath here, a spare tire. Let's get this. A little bit of pilling on there. Not seeing any rust in here, but there is some water marks on here, and there is a slight smell of mold in the back, and so you might have some issues with water finding its way through the seal here. Okay. So, Civic Type R EP3, maybe the first one on the channel. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to email. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day.